to raise up the profile of your work and also the work around BTU. And so some of the words that we try to get people or university representatives or the awardees to pull in are, and you don't have to, it's just, this is sort of what the language that we're trying to get out there. So innovative, impact, impactful, collaboration, growing, growth, engagement, Towson University. So if you do say, if you're going to say, try not to say Towson, try to say Towson University.
Okay.
Education, community, equitable. So
Okay, I'll try to remember.
they're all
Yeah.
pretty common.
I think even if
They
something
speak
along the lines of those
yeah,
words would be
right.
okay too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess if we want to start out, if you could just say and spell your name, please.
I'm Dr. MaryLashley, Lashley.
All right. Very good. So could you tell me about what is the partnership between Towson University and Helping Up Mission?
So since 2003, Towson University has been partnering with Helping Up Mission to promote health and well-being among homeless men in recovery from addiction, and also to inspire future health professionals to work with homeless and underserved populations. So this venture started in 2003, and how it began essentially was that some representatives from the mission came to my church, and I was just sitting in the service in the pew with my 4 children, and I was listening to the testimonies of the men who had come, and they talked about how the mission had impacted them and led them on this journey to recovery. And I was so moved by what I heard and this total transformation in these people's lives that it motivated me to come down to the mission to sort of see what was going on. And I was thinking, how we might be able to help. I have to confess that my aspirations were not totally noble. I was terrified at the thought of coming down here. I really haven't worked in Baltimore City very much. I've never worked with homeless populations. I had never worked with people in recovery from addiction. So my idea was I was going to go down here and take a few blood pressures and get out of the place as soon as I could. But when I got down here and I had an opportunity to talk with the men and hear their stories and to connect with them personally, it became very evident early on that there were some real unmet health needs here and that we might be able to address. And there's something about meeting people face to face, and seeing the need. It compels you to enter into a relationship with them, because at that point you have a decision to make. It's really an ethical question. Are you going to get involved, or are you going to turn your back? And it just wasn't acceptable. We could do better. These men had huge unmet health needs that needed to be addressed, and I thought that maybe we could help. Yeah, that's what started.
No, that was
so nervous.
That was an amazing.
Golly.
It was amazing.
That was an absolutely amazing.
I think I better not quit my day job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make it in Hollywood. Oh, golly. All right.
And so, as I said, so some of this may sound repetitive. So if you feel like that you've already answered it, just say so, and we can move on to the next question.
Okay.
So when did the partnership begin?
So the partnership actually began in the fall of 2003, after I had the opportunity to meet with the leadership here at the mission and to discuss how Towson University nursing students might be involved and might be able to contribute. We started by conducting blood pressure screening clinics. We just set up right in the lunchroom and engaged the men in kind of tabletop health education and discussion. And from there, we got to assess, what the needs of the community were. And it became evident early on that one of the major unmet health needs had to do with oral health. That men came to the mission and literally the teeth were rotting out of their mouths. And they were in pain, they had toothaches, they'd go to the emergency room, they would run up a large bill, they would get an antibiotic, it would clear it up for a while, and then the abscess would come back. So we really had to address, how could we meet that need? So in 2006, we were able to obtain some seed funding to begin an oral health program here. And that program actually is now in its 12th year of operation, and it has served over 1,300 homeless men. And the program provides emergency, preventative, and restorative oral health care. So one of the things that's really innovative about it is it doesn't just take care of people's emergency needs, but it restores their smiles. And we've found that when building people from the inside out, basically from stem to stern, we have you covered. This whole recovery process is about transformation of the whole person. And when they have their smiles restored, it does have a huge psychological impact. We find that the men who receive restorative oral health care through our program, almost 90% of them graduate from our one-year residential addictions recovery program, compared to 20% of the population, the general population. And I think what's happening is this restorative care, they can't get this right away. If you have an emergency, you can get care right away. But to get the smile restored, you have to be in the program for a little while. And so it's sort of the carrot on the stick. They realize that if they stay a little longer, they can get a beautiful new smile. And it motivates them to stay one more day. And then the longer they stay, they get immersed in this culture of recovery, and gradually they experience the transformation that comes about from being immersed in the culture of recovery. And so we've been able to link this program not only to oral health, but to success in recovery. It's really made a difference in the person's life.
Yes, that's fantastic. And again, this is repetitive, but how did the partnership begin? And again, if you feel like you've already answered it.
So basically, it began when I was introduced to Helping Up Mission through my church, and was led to come down here to see how I could volunteer and engage students in the Helping Up Mission community.
So this partnership provides access to important healthcare services. So what are the goals of the partnership, and what problem does this partnership solve?
So the goals really of this partnership are twofold. One is to promote the health and well-being of homeless men in recovery from chemical addictions. But second, and equally important, is to inspire future health professionals to work with homeless and underserved populations. We want to inspire people right out of the gate. So even as they first graduate and are entering the profession, to consider working with our homeless and underserved communities. I think it's very important. I know that when I graduated from school, I would not have considered working with a population because of fear and because of ignorance. And so if we can expose students early on in their careers to working with these populations and inspire them and motivate them, they're going to be more likely to volunteer their services, to work with these communities, and to address the health needs of these vulnerable populations.
That's great. Yeah. And I'm glad that we'll be able to see the students, interacting with them one day. So what makes this partnership innovative?
So I think there's a number of things that make this partnership innovative. Some people ask me, what does a gospel rescue mission have to do with a state university? How do you marry the two of these things? And I think when we look at our mission, there is one area where we really have a common goal, and that is we're both very interested in serving our fellow man. Service to humanity is a huge goal at Towson University. Community engagement is very important. And at Helping Up Mission, that certainly is part of our core values as well. And so I think that this is a model of how you can marry two what may appear to be very distinct and different organizations, and can draw from the strengths of both to produce something that really has a powerful impact on the community.
That's great. How has this partnership grown since its beginning?
So it's grown in a number of ways. In terms of the capacity and the reach, we've certainly expanded the types of programs and services that we've offered, from humble beginnings where we took blood pressures in the lunchroom to an oral health program that served over 1,000 people. Also, our students are involved in our primary care clinic. We have an on-site wellness center, so they implement wellness programs at the clinic. They work at the primary care clinic. They also lead and coordinate mission-wide health fairs. that draw in community partners like the city health department, local hospitals, to provide needed health education and resources to our men. And our students are also involved in program evaluation research, so looking at data in terms of the efficacy of our programs, how successful our programs are here at the Mission, and doing that kind of data collection.
How many Towson University students are engaged in this partnership each semester or year? And what do you think the impact is on those students?
So I have about 12 undergraduate nursing students every semester, and usually I have 1 or 2 graduate level students as well that are working here. I think the impact is quite significant. One of the things we do in the oral health program is we conduct exit surveys of students who have been involved with that program, and these are students in nursing, dentistry, and dental hygiene, because we also collaborate with the University of Maryland Dental School. And what we find is that of people surveyed, 99% of them say they would consider volunteering their services to meet the needs of the homeless as a result of this experience. So the students, they always tell me that this experience has really shattered stereotypes for them. It has removed barriers, fear, ignorance. It actually has inspired them to work with these populations.
That's fantastic. What does this partnership say about Towson University? And what do you think the impact is of this work on Towson University?
So I think for our students, this partnership provides an experiential learning opportunity that fosters diversity awareness. It promotes interprofessional collaboration. It helps students develop their clinical research, their leadership skills. But even more importantly, it inspires them to consider working with underserved populations in the future. And to me, this is really critical because, and this impacts not only our students, but also it impacts Greater Baltimore. Because if you can inspire people right out of the gate to work with the homeless and underserved, you've created a sustainable workforce far into the future to care for some of Baltimore's neediest and most vulnerable citizens.
What is the impact of this project on the men at HelpingUpMission, from your perspective?
Okay. So for the men of HelpingUpMission, I think it's an opportunity to change destructive habits and to adopt healthier practices and behaviors through education and through improved access to healthcare services. And as we see with the oral health program, even to foster greater success in the recovery process. Oh, can I say one more thing about it? No. Okay. So also the men, in recapturing their life and in experiencing the transformation that comes about from the recovery process, they become productive citizens. They return to their communities and are able to give back. And that affects the community that they touch, the neighborhoods, and society as a whole. So one way that I think this partnership is so innovative is that it has taken together organizations and people with varied expertise. And now I'm losing my train of thought. I'm so nervous. What was I going to say about that? It'll come back to me. I'm sorry. I'm so nervous.
No, it's fine. You're doing great. So
I was going to say, you're going to make my job really hard, because how could I cut?
Oh my God, I'm
All of
so
my
nervous.
egos.
You make me feel so
I
good.
was like, I might have lied about you not being in the video very often, because you might be in the video very often.
Oh my God, you make me feel so good because I'm so anxious.
No,
so.
no, you're so.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
I can't tell when you're answering the questions. It's
Okay.
one of the
Because I want it to seem real and not,
You're
rehearsed. But it's just there's so much going on here that I'm not used to.
Like I said, as soon as you talk, I just feel it like coming from your heart.
Good.
Like absolutely.
Okay, good. That's what I want it
Yes.
to come
No,
across.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank
I
you.
stand by my statement of the best interviews that I've ever gotten.
Thank you so much.
So what is the impact of this work on Greater Baltimore? How does this partnership address lifelong health and well-being, and also sort of sustainable communities.
Okay, so this partnership really addresses lifelong health and well-being in that it promotes the health and well-being of a very vulnerable population. It also creates sustainable, what was the other?
Sustainable communities.
Sustainable,
Yeah.
yeah, sustainable, healthy communities, because when we invest in the lives of these vulnerable citizens, they go back out into the community, they go back out into society, and they're impacting their families, they're impacting their neighbors, their neighborhoods, and they're now positively contributing to society where before, they may not have been. I think for students, by inspiring future health professionals to work with the homeless and underserved, again, you're creating a sustainable workforce. You're creating motivated people that desire to work with these populations far into the future. And that can only mean good things for Greater Baltimore.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
So I think that one of the things that really excites me about this award is it's not so much about a program or a person, but it's really celebrating a relationship that has spanned 15 years. And when I think about what makes an excellent community academic partnership, it's a little bit like a marriage. And when I think about, how do you know that you're in a great marriage? What makes a great marriage? And there's really three things. One is that it lasts. It's enduring. It lasts, and you can see that with this partnership. The other thing about a great marriage is there's a lot of passion there, and devotion, complete devotion and commitment to one another. That's something that also is part of this program. And then thirdly, and maybe most importantly, in a good marriage, you always leave a legacy that impacts future generations. And we can see that by inspiring these students to work with the homeless. That's exactly what's happening. So in many ways, I see this as a wonderful marriage between Towson University and HelpingUpMission.
They were sitting right in front of me, and I could tell, obviously they were touched. And to see him come up and hug his family, it was just so, I'm getting teary now, but
it's
powerful.
It's powerful.
It's just powerful. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Towson University students on Monday and hearing their stories.
Oh, I'm so glad you're able to come to that, because I think you're really going to see them in action, and I think it's going to be really great footage. Somebody said to me once, I used to work here, and I always feel like this, for me, really captures what HelpingUpMission is all about. He said, there are very few places in life where the wall between heaven and earth is very thin, and you can actually see heaven poking through. And he said, and this is one of those places for me. And I'm like, yes, that's what's going on here. Yeah. That's what it feels like for me. I'm obviously a person of faith, and I feel, when I'm here, I feel close to God when I'm here. Yeah. And in many ways, I feel like I was meant, it's realizing my professional destiny, that this is why I became a nurse. This is why I'm here. Yeah. I was called here for this very reason, because it doesn't just transform the people you're serving. You get transformed in the process. You can't help but be transformed in the process. When you see these families that were so broken, have their son back. Yeah. What that man said, that his friend made another decision. His friend decided to, he's gone. Yeah. And then this gentleman took a different path, and what that family must feel.
And all because his phone died. All because his phone died that day.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so what else do I?
Yes, it was almost like this serendipitous, what would seem to be random event, but we of course believe otherwise. But that led him to make this choice that was like the most critical junction in his path, in the path of life. And here he is giving this speech, and this other fellow, I don't know. There's something very powerful. And then when you see those families that are, the healing in those families, it's just amazing.
Well, good on you.